evening for you. Something different. All you guys think of big popular things. You're going to go start a business, something that everybody's heard of. You're going to start a new iTunes or something like that. What you're going to learn tonight is there are fantastic niches you can get into that you may have never heard the name of the company before. I would bet if I asked you guys, how many have heard of liner products, we would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands, because this is the whole family down here. They've heard of it. This is an incredible business. Robert Kaminski started this when it was a small, he took it as a small family $2 million business and is now at $750 million with 2,500 employees. He's grown this thing like you wouldn't believe. He's the largest vitamin and over-the-counter drug producer in North America. In North America, you've noticed what that is? That's a big chunk of the world to be the largest of anything in. It's an incredible business. He's done a wonderful job. So I'm going to bring Robert up here, and we're going to give him a little bit of a reward here. He tells me he's a lousy entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur in the family is his wife, Susan, who, by the way, started Costco.com as an entrepreneur. So it's a family affair. You trouble with the word? Oh, it's a Catholic school. We don't talk about those things. This is their daughter, Rachel, their son, John, who is an LMU student over in, still in liberal arts? Or are you in business school now? You're in the business school now, but his girlfriend, or friend anyway, I don't want to cause any girlfriend, okay? All right. And this is David Church, who is with the liner business. He's their techie guy and also has his own business doing commercials and things like that. So it's a very active group we have here. But what I want to first of all do for you, I'm not taking your time. Look, I'm looking at his wife. 2 minutes of my time. Yeah, wait a minute here. We are honoring you tonight as the Hilton Distinguished Entrepreneur. And we give you a rather nice little award to take home, put on the wall. And what I'm going to say to the 2 kids here is you better come back in a few years and get one of these too. Live after Papa here, okay? I can read it to you real quick for the audience. The Conrad Hilton Distinguished Entrepreneur Award, celebrating entrepreneurial excellence, exceptional achievement, and powerful leadership, presented to Robert Kaminski, CEO of Liner Health Products. Creative, dynamic, and powerful corporate entrepreneur, Robert Kaminski took over a small branch of an international firm and built it up from $2 million in sales to over $750 million in sales today. He has led his team of 2,500 employees in building the firm into being North America's largest manufacturer of store brand vitamins and OTC drugs. LMU is proud to honor this outstanding entrepreneurial excellence and powerful ethical leadership. We congratulate you.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Dean Holohan. Thanks for everybody for being here, especially my family. It's an exciting night. I was saying I've given lots of presentations. I've been down on the financial district down in New York in front of bankers who grill me, in front of company meetings with thousands of employees. This is my first time in front of a university, so go easy on me. When I was asked to come in and share with you a little bit about my story, I said, how would I think about stuff if I was in your chairs, and what might make just a little bit of a difference? So that's what I'm going to try to do. This isn't a startup situation. I'm CEO of a company called $800 million, and I think there's been some learnings along the way that have changed our life and our success, and maybe I can share just a little bit of that with you. And maybe a start of a quote. You're going to see I kind of like quotes. It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And that's Mark Twain. Okay, and you guys know what it takes to be successful. You have it in you. You know what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. It's in you or you wouldn't be here. you have what it takes. On the flip side of it is sometimes we think we know stuff. We have views and values, and that isn't exactly it. So maybe tonight I can just turn you a quarter of a turn to some of the stuff that I've been through, and you can get dialed in, and it'll be a worthwhile night for you. A little bit about our company. Liner Health Products, as Fred mentioned, is the largest supplier of store brand vitamins and OTC drugs in the United States. And our business is about $480 million in store brand vitamins, about $240 million in store brand over-the-counter drugs, and about $60 million in contract manufacturing, where we actually make some of the big national brands. The thing I want you to take away is what's on the bottom, our mission. And our mission is leading the self-care revolution. And by the time I'm done, I hope you understand what this revolution is all about. But that means providing high-quality, low-cost healthcare and self-care products to tens of millions of Americans and Canadians who need these products for a longer life and a higher quality of life. Lesson 1, be careful of who your customers are. And one of the great wins that we've had in Liner is partnering with the who's who of America and North America mass market retailer customers. So we do business, and we typically have a leading market position with the #1 food, #1 mass, #1 club, #2 club, and we've been there for 20-some years. We've won numerous awards. Having good customers pays. We call that winning with the winners. So win with the winners, and a lot becomes easy. Just a little flicker show of the products. When Fred says you don't know who we are, you do know our products. So if you walk through a Costco, you'll see one of the great vitamin brands in America called Kirkland Signature. If you get through a Walmart, you'll see Spring Valley or Equate vitamin products. A lot of what we do is called NBE, National Brand Equivalents of the big national brands. So we'll make a version of Tylenol or Advil or Aleve for pain. And we'll offer that to consumers at about 40% off of the national brand price. And our quality, we're going to touch on quality a little bit later, is probably in many respects actually higher than the national brands because we have so much scrutiny and audit to what we do and how we do it. Digestive, allergy, and I want to talk a little bit more about that example a little bit later. And if you see or know the one-a-day products, all the one-a-day vitamins out there are made by Liner. So we have a big business in contract manufacturing, and that's happened mainly because of the quality that we build into the products. Vitamins and store brand OTCs represent probably, this is like A-Rod numbers, okay? This is slugging percentage, batting average, bases sold, power home runs. On every financial metric, our category basically leads the stats for retailers. So these are above margin products. Retailers are making 40, 50%, 60% gross margins on these products. They take up a little bit of space. They have huge velocity off the shelves, so it's a power segment. Lesson number 2 is play the game where the current is going strong. And so this for us has been a real win in terms of partnering with our customers and helping them to make profit off the products we sell. If you walk into a Costco store right after New Year's, you'll see their, it's called their Winter Health event, their front fence promotion. And if you go into a Costco and walk in the front door, you'll see just a huge fence, and you'll see about $1 million of vitamins up in every Costco that you go into. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about scale, because scale wins. And yes, we're beyond now startup, but in our business, scale and doing things in a big way wins. And having, just having the drive and the vision to go from small to big is a big part of the problem, and why we're here tonight and what I hope to help on. 6 plants, 1.7 million square feet, east-west Canada. It's a big operation. It's 2,500 people. And at the end of the day, this year we're going to produce about 33 billion doses. So that's 33 billion tablets of our stuff, or capsules, that people take. You run the math backward on that, that's 1,000 a second. 24/7. So think 1,000. 1,000. While I sleep, 1,000. 1,000. While I play golf, 1,000. 1,000. While I'm here tonight, 1,000. 1,000. It's just a beautiful annuity. And it is a wonderful way to change the health and well-being of all the people that participate in my product group. In terms of playing our game, raw materials is everything, okay? About 70% of our cost bar is in the raw materials that go into these tablets. So no matter how good I get on all that manufacturing, it's all about buying right. And in my world, it's buying the highest quality products right. That's everything. One of the things that's affected our business, and we've had to adjust to as entrepreneurs, is the move globally for raw materials. So it used to be that most of our raw materials came right here domestically in the United States. Today, less than 50% of our material comes really from here in the United States, and it comes from Asia, it comes from India, and that's hard to do right. What we do as a company, we work very, very hard in terms of keeping our customers on the front page of Consumer Reports and out of the LA Times. Okay, so we got to make sure that we're controlling these raw material ingredients from the field to the table. So we work very hard on that. That's all I'm going to talk about what we do. That just gives you a flavor of who we are. For me to come up and say, here's Langer, you just wouldn't know us. We take a lot of pride, actually, in being very, very anonymous. I want to talk to you about why do we do this? What's it all about? What's really the passion behind our company? And this is it. It's this thing that we call leading the self-care revolution. Lesson 3, get in front of the wave. If the wave is going to come, or if the herd of elephants is coming, if you can be out in front of that and you can ride that wave, there's just wonderful opportunities. And in my world, our wave is called the age wave. Okay, our world is called the age wave. So you talk to a guy like Ken Dykewald, who wrote books like Age Wave and Age Power. What he would say is that the 55 plus age group, that's mine, not yours, is the fastest growing age group in America, and we're going to see 40 million new baby boomers hit 55 in about the next 10 years. It's just this huge wave of aging that's coming through our society and through our country. We're going to have about 100 million of us out there in our age by the year 2020. That's a huge wave coming. Think about what that means. It's like stuff is going to happen. Okay? Stuff is going to happen. And I thought I brought along a little clip here. David, if you could cue in that clip. I think Billy Crystal can kind of tell you about this even a little better than I can.
Value this time in your life, kids. Because this is the time in your life when you still have your choices. And it goes by so fast. When you're a teenager, you think you can do anything, and you do. Your 20s are a blur. 30s, you raise your family, you make a little money, and you think to yourself, what do I do in my 20s? 40s, you grow a little pot belly, you grow another chin. Music starts to get too loud. One-year-old girlfriend from high school becomes a grandmother. 50s, you have a minor surgery. You'll call it a procedure, but it's a surgery. 60s, you'll have a major surgery. The music is still loud, but it doesn't matter because you can't hear it anyway. 70s, you and the wife retired to Fort Lauderdale. Start eating dinner at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, lunch around 10, breakfast the night before. Spend most of the time wandering around malls and eating the ultimate soft yogurt, muttering, how come the kids don't fall? How come the kids don't fall? At the 80s, you'll have a major stroke. You end up battling with some Jamaican nurse who your wife can't stand, but you call mom. Any questions?
That's what this age wave is all about, okay? That is inevitable. It's going to happen. Our mission is to help people live longer. And I think the slide actually talks about 27 years on top of 55 as the average. We want to get Americans there in a way higher lifestyle quality. And that's what this self-care revolution is about. And we want to do that at the absolute lowest rock bottom possible prices at the very highest level quality. That's our mission. We know that chronic conditions and cause of death are there. There's not going to go away. There's nothing magical about those conditions that are going to make those go away. So the products that we create actually just support Americans as they age, and we're out in front of the wave. So if I leave you anything tonight, get in front of the wave, okay? And it's huge. Let's talk about the economic side of this wave and trying to lever off of economic reality and economic power. This is a country that's in a healthcare crisis. We not only have a healthcare crisis, we have a health crisis. Americans are less healthy today than they've ever been before. Average weight levels are going up. Buildings are having to go through redesigns. Okay, elevators are having to be re-engineered. Okay, we've got a health crisis in this country, but worse than that, we have a health care crisis in this country. The United States Medicare-Medicaid system will be bankrupt by the year 2020. Today, the United States spends about 16% of our gross domestic product on health care. Okay? We're number 1 in the world. Number 2 in the world is Canada at 9%. Okay, so there's 7% of the gross domestic product in the second biggest spender on health care. We're the biggest. We're going broke. We have a system that is unsustainable. Something's got to happen. The politicians don't want to talk about it. The politicians avoid it. They duck it. They duck Social Security. They duck Medicare. They duck Medicaid. They duck health care. But it's honest and it's going to come. We believe, and the 2,500 men and women in Liner believe, that we can do something about that we can lower these costs, that we're our alternative. And I can't tell you how that's all going to shake out, but I can tell you we're going to be in the right place, in front of the wave, when this happens. And I can tell you how it's already happening today. In the next 10 years, there's going to be $50 billion, $56 billion of prescription drugs that are going to come off patent. So if you look into Big Pharma is spending all of their money with their greatest research minds extending patents on their drugs. I wish they would be spending more of their time finding the cure for cancer and diabetes. But what they would love to do is to sell us one drug every day for the rest of our lives and just have us keep renewing that. But $50 billion of these drugs are going to lose their patent. And when they come off patent, many of those drugs come from behind the pharmacy. So where you actually go into your doc, you write you a prescription, you go to your pharmacist, and you used to pay $3 a day for your Claritin if you had an allergy. Those are going to come off patent, and they're going to come in front of the counter. They're going to be in your local Walmart or CVS or Save-On store, and you're going to buy a product that you used to pay, you or your insurer, for $2.78. You're going to pay 10 to 40 cents, and it's going to come from Liner. Okay, and when this crisis hits, okay, we're going to be there, and we're going to have high-quality, low-cost health care available on these products that are going to switch. So face economic reality. Get in front of the wave. Create a long-term solution, and it's just a very, very exciting place to be. That's a little bit about what we do. Dean Holohan asked me to talk a little bit about private equity. Okay, and because Liner is, as a capital structure, we're a private equity company. Okay, this is a good friend of mine. He's a battle-worn, grizzled veteran called Arthur Warshaw, who says, it doesn't matter whether the glass is half full or half empty. What matters is who owns the glass. Okay? Being an owner and being an operator are two different things. And so the reason we're here as entrepreneurs is we love to be owners. We love to have a piece of that glass. In our case, we're invested with two leading private equity companies, North Castle Partners and Golden Gate Capital, excuse me. Let's talk a little bit about the capital structure of a company and what's that all about and what does it mean. And this is something as entrepreneurs that you guys are going to have to deal with, especially if you start small and you want to go big. At some point, you're going to look to your balance sheet, and I'll tell you the way old Bubba here thinks about balance sheet is, a balance sheet to me is, here's what you own and what you owe. Okay? It takes money to make money. Okay? Whether it's in your plants, your equipment, your inventory, your accounts receivable where you're waiting for your money to come in, you've got to have money to make money. And one of the hardest things is going from a small enterprise to a larger enterprise. And private equity is one way to get there pretty easily. You don't have to go public. Private equity sponsors are out there. I was with my wife Susan the other day, and as blessed as we've been on private equity, I tried to explain to her, how do you make money on private equity? And I want to just give you a simple 5-minute 101 of how private equity works, and maybe you'll remember this as your businesses grow. Just for illustrative purposes, my company was recently recapitalized in June of 2004, and our enterprise value, the price of our company, what it was worth, was called $700 million. That came about with a valuation because our company was earning $90 million a year in profit, something that in my world is called EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. That's kind of the measurement in the private equity world of your profitability. And the market valued us and the smart people at about 7.8 times. So what that meant is this whole thing is worth $700 million. This is June of 2004. How did we recapitalize? Well, we started with something called senior debt. These are banks. Okay, so think of ING, Bank of America, Washington Mutual, Merrill Lynch, all the biggest bankers in the world wanted a piece of liner. They authorized us $200 million of senior debt. Okay, so think of that $200 million. We pay about 9% interest a year on that, and that provides $200 million of our capital structure. Above that $200 million is subordinated debt. Subordinated debt just basically means if things go bad, things kind of crash from the top to the bottom. So subordinated debt is a little more risky place to have on your balance sheet, okay? And we pay more interest on it, call that 11%, but it provides a good function. That gives us $400 million in capital. $300 million came from our two partners in North Castle and Golden Gate. Okay, that's the equity piece. So how does this work? Your lenders have no upside. All they got is downside. Okay? They're just hoping you stay in business. They're hoping you don't do something so strategically crazy that you blow through all of us. Okay? But anything that you grow the business on, the fruits, all go to the equity investors. So let me tell you and try to help illustrate how that can work. We hope to come out of this thing by 2010. We hope to grow our business, and ultimately what one has to do as a leader is grow our business to about $150 million of EBITDA from 90. So that's why we're selling. That's why we're working on new product development. That's why we're taking costs out of our system. That's why we're lowering costs on our raw materials. That's why we're working our people to create more value every day. We hope that by 2010, we actually facelift our company enough that our multiple actually goes up a little bit. And that as this revolution, the self-care revolution comes in, we're thought of as being even more important than we are now. If that happens, 8.5 times 150 is an enterprise value of $1.3 billion. Okay? Now $1.3 billion, if we haven't paid down any of our debt, and we'll probably pay down some of our debt, all that equity, all that enterprise accretion from 700 to 1.3 falls to the equity holders. So there's $900 million now of equity value, which is 3 times their investment. And the way that works as a management operator, or as you bring in equity investors to help grow your business, is typically your equity investors want to incentivate you as management to make this build happen, and typically you'll see management teams with 10 to 20% of the equity value. Okay, and that's why I'm an owner. And so we work real hard to get in 6 years to maybe get $60 or $100 million worth of equity accretion for the top management people over at Liner. So we can come back to that maybe if you'd like in Q&A, but I wanted to just help you understand how that private equity works. Private equity is also great. Board strength, you can bring in experts. You don't have to bring in boards like public companies do. Time horizon, you're not drilled on quarterly results like you are every day in the public markets. Financial engineering, you can do lots of things in private equity on a private basis that you can't do publicly. And of course there's liquidity, because when you sell the company, you're out and the money's there, and it all works. So maybe keep that in the back of your mind as you grow your businesses. You know, you find out you need a cash infusion, and you remember some old guy from the vitamin business came in here and said, hey, private equity might be an answer. We've done very well on that. Private equity is something you're going to read more about. This year, we're going to see about almost $200 billion invested in private equity. You're seeing a lot of companies today go private. You're going to see more and more of that, so it's very popular. Okay, lessons learned. The mob, okay? I got to say that when I was sitting in this auditorium back in 1970, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have this grandiose vision. I didn't know. I was a musician. You know, I was playing in bands and teaching music lessons, and always had, you know, lots of little business ventures going on the side. I didn't have this clear crystal thing. One day I'm going to lead this self-care revolution. It just kind of happened. And, you know, one of the things I would say to you is, don't worry about that. That's okay. Just set your next higher goal. Go from where you are to your next goal. Take your vision. We're going to talk about vision. Work that vision and get to the next step. But I do want to share with you some of the lessons learned that I would say I'd leave with you while I have a few minutes here. With respect to learn from your mistakes, winners learn from their mistakes. Champions learn from winners' mistakes. And this was a lesson that I got really early in life. I got this one in high school. One summer I worked for this piano player who doubled up in the summer cleaning carpets. And we got $35 every time we go and clean somebody's carpet. I got $35. Okay? He'd sit down and he taught me in about 3 days how to clean the carpets with the machines and put the little aluminum under the legs of the furniture, keep the rust off, sweep it out real good. I had that down in about 3 days. I go do this job. I work for 2 hours. He'd give me a check for $35. He'd be having coffee, okay, with the homeowner. I see her write the check. She wrote for $235. Okay? So, needless to say, by next year, I knew how to clean these carpets. I went out and I bought my own machine. I started my own company called University Carpet Cleaning, and I learned from that. Again, the 2 ohms of glass, but I learned everything I had to know about that particular business on somebody else's dime. Okay, big lesson. So as you consider and say, what am I going to do? It's always a little bit easier. Go out there, check it out on somebody else's dime. And that's what I did when I got out of college. I went to work for Procter & Gamble. And I learned how products were moved at the highest level to consumers. I learned about grocery stores and shelf sets and how our products merchandised, just a lot like Rachel's doing down here. How do you interface with that consumer? Learn from the best of the best, see everything they do right, try to figure out what they do wrong. On vision, execution, and team. I want to talk to you about 3 areas here. Core ideology, values, and purpose, and then vision and execution, because they all go together. One of the books that I admire most is a Jim Collins book called Built to Last. Are you guys familiar with Built to Last? Anybody read the book Built to Last? Okay. Well, Built to Last is all about is Jim Collins and his group did a big research analysis on best-in-class companies against number 2 and 3 companies. Okay, and they tried to pinpoint what are the difference on the real winners versus 2nd and 3rd tier. And what they found out, among other things, that the best companies had a mission and a purpose and a set of core values. And that people come to work, they don't come to work just to make money. Making money isn't good enough. But when you get this mission, okay, and when you get this purpose and people feel like they got something special and they're creating a better world, magic happens. So in our company, I've talked to you about our mission, Self-Care Revolution. We also have a set of core values that are very important in everything we do. And we've got a set of operating principles, which is our kind of our value system and how we conduct ourselves. And would encourage you as you build your teams, it's all about the people. Okay, I probably spend 70% of my time on the people. And the issue is, how do you get the edge? How do you improve your business? How do you not get mealy-mouthed and soft and quiet and accepting of your situation, how do you really drive the edge while still inspiring your people? And the way to do that is with a good set of operating principles. And I'm not going to take you through our principles per se. There's two that I would point out that have been real drivers for us. One is to do the right thing. Probably should be our number one commandment. It's never too late to do the right thing. Even if you've done wrong stuff up till today, you can still make the decision today to change that or to take the next step and to do the right thing. The other is be a cause. The opposite of being a cause is being an effect. How many people do we know always feel like, man, they got a bad deal. It just went the wrong way. So-and-so, this happened, sent me the wrong way. When we're a cause, we say, here's what I can do to change things. Here's how I can do it differently the next time. So operating principles, core values are huge. Vision. As entrepreneurs and leaders, I can't say enough about vision. And the vision that you create for everybody around you, whether they're your employees, your customers, your lenders, your shareholders, is everything. Work on that vision. See it clearly. Have it in your mind. It's worth the extra work to have an absolute clear vision in your mind. Okay? And then people pick up on that. People see that vision and they follow, and it's magic. It's when you get soft and you think you kind of have a little bit of a vision and people are kind of crossing and going different directions. If they see the end point and the top of the mountain, they may not get there the way you hope they would get there, but they'll find the top of the mountain. Another lesson learned. Leaders start by getting the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus, and the right people in the right seats. Who's on your bus is everything. Probably a lesson that I learned too late in my career. I wish I would have learned this one earlier. And I think it applies in business, and I think it applies to all of us today, right here, right now. Who we're with and what they contribute and how they contribute is everything. So as you grow your business, think about who's on your bus, who's with you, and work their strengths. Work on your team's strengths, minimize their weaknesses, but pay careful attention to who's coming along for the ride. Motivating your team, carrots and sticks. You may have heard of General Electric, who basically lays off 10% of their workforce every year. A lot of companies motivate out of negative motivation and fear. We've done a great job in terms of motivating with positive motivation. This is Sun Tzu from The Art of War. Regard your soldiers as your sons, and they'll follow you into the deepest valleys and stand by you even until death. Thus, when you capture the spoils from the enemy, they must be used as rewards, so that all of your men may have a keen desire to fight, each on his own account. Share with your people, share with your team, make them fight for something, and magic will just happen. A few final slides on leadership. Harris poll did research on leadership. Now, how do followers see leaders? How do followers see leaders? This was done on 4 continents, 20,000 participants. The number one thing that people said they want out of their leaders is honesty. Okay, honesty. That's like a third more than competency. Being honest, being forward-looking, being inspiring are all part of leadership, but this is common sense, being worthy of trust, being ethical and principled, practicing what they preach, okay? And being forward-looking, ability to look ahead and convey a strong vision of the future, having a sense of direction. On being inspiring, having confidence in the validity of the goal, having a greater sense of purpose. And on being competent, as entrepreneurs, you got to know your business better than anybody around you knows it. And if you have that, you can be competent. There is a difference between managing and leading. Okay, but if you manage first and do that well, you will be competent. Another Jim Collins book I'd urge you to take a look at is a book called Good to Great. Okay, and Good to Great is how do ordinary companies transform themselves into truly great companies in our country. And one of the key points there is a couple chapters on something called Level 5 Leaders. And they looked at the most successful companies in our country. versus less successful companies. And what they found out is you don't have to be Scott McNeely, okay? You don't have to be Jack Welch. You don't have to be Steve Jobs. The most successful, financially performing winners are guys who aren't very charismatic, okay? They're guys who don't look very good, don't talk very well, just ordinary people like you and me, okay? They're nothing, okay? But they're modest, willful. They're humble, but they're fearless, okay? And they're unwavering and resolved to do what has to be done. So don't feel like as entrepreneurs and leaders, you got to put on some kind of spit shine. You don't have to do that. Just believe in your core beliefs, be fearless inside, and people will follow. A section on, is leadership learned or are you born? This is like that Trading Places movie, okay? This is like Trading Places, and is it genetic or do we learn how to be good leaders? And would say to you, the top people really think that leaders are not born, they're made. And one of the things as leaders that you're going to have to deal with is adversity. And you're going to have failures. And stuff is going to happen. Okay, it's not a straight line to the top. And you may be feeling that now here in school. You're going to feel that in the future. It's never a straight line. This is a situation in my company where we had a number of record years as under my leadership of successive increases in sales and EBITDA. And even today, our average compound annual growth rate sales is about 9%, profit about 15%. But man, we had a doozy there in 2000. Okay? And let me tell you just, how am I doing on time, Fred?
17, 18 months.
Okay, good. Just a little bit about what happened that year. In September of '99, I walked into my office, and my partner put down on my desk a copy of the Wall Street Journal, and on the front page, it said that 27 of the world's largest fine vitamin chemical companies had just been convicted of price fixing. And they just were required to pay the largest criminal fine in U.S. Justice Department history of over $1 billion criminal fine. Guys were led away in orange suits. This is before Enron, WorldCom, Adelphia, all that. This was old stuff that happened. But I remember looking at this saying, I don't know what this is going to do to us, but this is going to be big. This is going to be bad because I'm the biggest users of this stuff. Okay? I buy more fine chemicals than anybody in the world. What is this going to do to us? Okay? And ultimately what happened, I brought in a bunch of consultants and we brainstormed this think tank that tried to figure out what to do about it. Ultimately what happened is when the price fixing cartel broke, what happened to prices? Prices came down by about 40%. So now I got all my competition who wants all my customers offering to come in at 40% less than my pricing. And I'm sitting on $150 million of illegally fixed fine vitamin chemicals that have now been devalued by 40%. I'm like really in a mess. So I get on an airplane and go to New Jersey, start meeting with these guys, and they basically offer to give me a settlement on this stuff. Well, we'll help you with your inventory. We'll give you price protection. We'll help you through that, and we'll give you $50 or $60 million to do that. And I came back and I sat down with my private equity guys, and I sat down with our antitrust attorneys, and they said, you can't do that. This is a deal worth at least 3 times that. This is worth $150 million. Okay? So we made that decision. We said we're not going to take this from our chemical suppliers. We could have avoided that. Well, what do? We did the right thing. Because we had constituents who were counting on us to not undersell this stuff. We did the right thing. We said no. And what part of what happens, I don't want to get too long here, is if you remember those columns I showed you, the debt level, the bankers and the high yield guys, this was all happening right after the dot-com bubble broke. Okay? They were like cats on a hot tin roof, man. They were like really antsy. So we ended up with 50 different banks coming into our office and banker advisors coming in, wanting to take us down, wanting to take our company from us. I had bankers in the hallway. It was frightening. It was humbling. It was terrible. Okay, my people were just rocked. Our whole company was rocked. What's going on? We believe in this company. But we stuck it out, okay, and we said no. And ultimately, we let due process happen. We got through this bank process here. We ended up setting all kinds of new records. We re-engineered our company. We took a lot of products out of our mix. We took a lot of costs out of our cost mix. And ultimately, you can see we came back stronger than ever. And I would say we ultimately prevailed in about a $160 million settlement with these people, about 3 times what happened. So expect that. It's not one smooth ride. There's stuff that's going to happen, and that's where you really learn to be a leader, is when your back is up against a wall and you got to deal with stuff that's bigger than you ever thought that you could face. A few quotes to leave you with before I go. On action. If you don't know where you're going, you wind up somewhere else. Yogi Berra. Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. Abraham Lincoln. Even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. Will Rogers. Plan ahead. Noah didn't wait for the rain to start before building the ark. Perfection spells paralysis. Winston Churchill. What I would say is, don't let perfect, okay, be the enemy of process. Okay, do something, move, hustle, action, act now. Act now, act now. On creativity. Don't worry about people stealing an idea. If it's original, you have to ram it down their throats. And I can tell you that as CEO, is when you're CEO, and all my ideas are like idiotic, according to most of the people that work around me. Okay, so they don't really steal your ideas. And the rub is finding the balance between open-minded enough to accept new ideas, but not so open-minded that your brains fall out. Okay, that's Michael Shermer from Skeptic. And there's really some truth to that is, you can be creative, but if you can't get it done, you're nowhere. And you can be a great executor, but if you got no creativity, you're in the same place. On learning. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Okay, and learning is everything. And what a great place that you have the blessing to be at here at Loyola. Okay, and if I could do anything over again, I'd go back and double and triple up how I went through college, how I learned. There's so many choices and power that comes out of that learning. So I might just close up here by saying, as an entrepreneur, the discipline that I would point to is the sweet spot. There's always a sweet spot. There's always this place between buyers, sellers, investors, employees, where there's a win-win. Okay, there's some sweet spot in there between constituents where everybody wins. Okay, where somebody doesn't have to lose. Okay, and we as entrepreneurs and leaders don't have to be slick. We don't have to be very charismatic. We don't have to have all the answers. Okay, we just have to be disciplined enough to be that level 5 leader that finds a sweet spot and then has a vision. And one final note is, I was reading something the other day about the Human Genome Project. The Human Genome Project has been going on here for about 13 years. Okay? They've identified like 3 billion genes, not genes, but gene diodes, and how those genes compare. 99.9% of them are all the same. All races, nationalities, everybody, we're all the same. It's that 1/10 that gets all the publicity in our world. Okay, 1/10. And I would say, if you stay in that 99.9 and you find that sweet spot, that you can change your world. Okay? You can change your world. And you don't have to have all the answers right now, but you can do that. So, I wish you lots of luck, success, great health. Thanks for listening to me today.
We've got about 10 minutes. We'll ask questions. And I don't know who always asks the first question, but I'll point at Eric. Either way, Eric's one of my old students, always asks the first question.
I've been self-employed for several years now, and I've seen stuff in the small business world, and I want to get to where you are. So one of the ways that you learned at Procter & Gamble, apart from the ins and outs of the industry, but like more about taking entrepreneurship from a small scale to the big scale. What is that you learned that made you jump to this big picture?
Structures and disciplines. Okay, so in any business, there's proven structures and disciplines, and the way I would think about that is like working out. You can do Pilates, you can weight train, you can do aerobics. There's lots of ways to skin the cat, but to learn to do it the right way can create enormous value. So I'd say take your business, find out the key structures and disciplines that are going to set you apart, and try to learn that from somebody.
Up here. There you go, there you go.
How did you enter into an industry that I'm assuming you didn't have much knowledge on? I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't have any knowledge actually in the vitamin, and it's not like I went out and I said, well, I'm going to get in this vitamin. You know, a lot of what happens, like God directs us, okay? And what happened to me was I ended up getting promoted a few times in Procter & Gamble, and I ended up working for a guy in St. Louis in a senior position who we just didn't share philosophies. And I was in sales management, and I love to move goods. Ultimately, I love to move product and create value for consumers. And this was a guy who wanted me to kind of sit out front of my salesman's house and see what time they leave in the morning. Okay, and that's just really not what I wanted to do as a career. And through a mutual contact of one of my customers, a big drug chain in Ohio, they turned me on to this little company called Line. It was just coming up, and it was a totally pure chance thing. But I knew that I could use these structures and disciplines from this big company, and I could kind of bring those down into something that I could work with, and that's how it happened.
In the world of private equity, could you say a few words on exit strategies, number one, and number two, the incentives for management and compensation for the management team? Right.
So I'm going to talk to exit strategies and incentives for management. Let me do incentives for management first of all. Along the way, and I'm into my third private equity sequence. And so these are like chapters in a book. Along the way, hopefully, if we're successful, we actually get liquidity and get some financial rewards. And typically, what these private equity partners will want management to do is to reinvest and put more of their money onto the table and have something riding. In addition, what they'll do is they'll offer stock options. But these are private stock options. You guys hear a lot about public stock options today. They'll offer stock options from nothing that say, if you grow this value from $700 million to $1.3 billion, here's what it's going to be worth. And they'll lay out options, and typically that'll look like something like 10 to 15% of the total win for, call it the 10 to 15 at my level, most senior managers in the company. The exit strategy is an important issue because there's a lot of ways that a company can exit. One, you could go public. Okay, so we could take this private company and go public, and we would now own public shares, and our investors would hold public shares that they could somewhat freely trade. One of the rubs on that is with SEC rules and Sarbanes-Oxley, it's real hard to be real liquid in public securities once you've been private. You don't get that instant pop that you would get if you're purely private. Another exit strategy is to a financial investor. So the next private equity group comes along, and they say, hey, we've been watching you. We saw you go from $700 million to $1.3 billion. We've been watching you. We know what you do. We think you're better than ever. We love the future of this business. This fits beautifully into our future, and it's just a private equity to private equity, which is a great thing. And all the money comes off the table, and it just re-ups, much like we did. That's what we did in June of 2004. The third exit strategy is to a strategic buyer. So there can be a company that McNeil or Bayer or some big company says, look at how much better we'd be with Liner in our portfolio. These are people that can afford to pay more. This is how you watch on CNBC and stocks just come off the charts. Okay, it's because the strategic buyer can pay more because there's these things called synergies. So we can close down duplicating plants. We can close down duplicating offices. And so it's a smaller net infrastructure supporting the whole. So those are the three main exits, which are strategic, financial, or IPO.
Yes.
What are the positive and negative effects of globalization on your business?
Positive and negative effects of globalization to our business. Number one, low cost for us. It has gone global for us, has allowed us to really get low cost. The price of our active pharmaceutical ingredients in China is incredibly more efficient and lower than buying raw materials here in the United States. In our business, we're not going to sell globally. Selling globally for us requires a lot of regulatory. So what's vitamins here in the United States are drug in the UK. Okay, and we take pills here in the US, and over in China they're taking herbs and roots. Okay, so we're not going to sell globally. We do a lot of buying globally. The negative about that buying globally is quality. Okay, and there's a lot of counterfeit. There's a lot of games going on. There's the Chinese, for one, have kind of ground rules that if you don't get caught, it's okay. And so, I mean, we watch them very closely. We've actually caught them counterfeiting some of our raw ingredients. So that's why getting people on the ground to control the raw materials is so important. But I hope that answers your question.
One last question.
How involved are they?
No. Yep. And I just told her we'd do her next. We'll have another one again.
How involved on a day-to-day basis are your private equity investors?
Great question. How involved are the private equity investors? I've been around private equity now since 1991, so I kind of know the bounce, I know the beat, okay? And so I tend to participate, my private equity guys, probably a little bit more than a founder might, who's owned this business, has been a family business for a long time, a little entrepreneurial thing. You call all the shots, now you bring in Big Daddy. Okay, Big Daddy comes in, you want him to like stay there, just give me the money. For me, we're working together, so I probably am talking to my investors a couple times a week, each side. I got one investor that's all in this healthy living, healthy aging space. He's got about $1 billion total invested. I probably work with him a little more. I've got this other investor in Golden Gate who has raised about $6 billion. Okay, so a little less. He just wants to see the financials. What they all watch, though, is performance. Okay, and there's nowhere to hide. It's all about performance. It's all about sales increases, profit increases, margin increases, operating expense decreases, balance sheet, inventory level. So they are just experts, and I love working with all these smart people on how to diagnose a business from the financials. So I probably work with them a little bit more, and finding the right chemistry on that is really important. So if you as entrepreneurs go out, what's right for me might not be right for you. So you really got to work that.
Last question from the young lady.
Two questions. One is
Last question. Right.
2.5 questions. First question is competitors. Who would you consider to be your major competitor or competition in that segment of the market? And the second question is more towards employment. I'm actually a recruiter, so I recruit for sales and management positions. A lot of people are going towards pharmaceutical sales, medical device sales, Ortho McNeil, GSK, all these companies are recruiting. In terms of employment opportunities for people who are entering into the industry with OTC drugs, how do they get into that area?
Wow. Okay, so my biggest competitor on the OTC, on the vitamin side, is a company called U.S. Nutrition, Nature's Bounty. Good competitor, mainly in their brand. My biggest competitor on the OTC side is a company called Perigo. You may have actually heard them. They've been in the news over the last few days on a big recall on acetaminophen. 11 million bottles, which is like 3 years supply on store brand acetaminophen. Both good competitors. Definitely a bit of a shot to store brand, but it's definitely set us apart because we've had about a third of the recalls that Perigo has had. With regard to employment, what I would suggest, it depends where you're coming in. If you're coming in on entry level, again, my theme is learn from the winners. My theme is, if you want to learn somewhere, good national brands, big companies like P&G, McNeil, Johnson & Johnson, Bayer, Pfizer, etc. Probably a great place to go. For us, we like to take people at senior levels in management, because we're calling on mainly headquarters. So we're going to Bentonville and calling on Walmart in Bentonville, or up in Kirkland, Washington, and calling on Costco there. And so these are very senior people who have experience.
Let's give them a heck of a hand. We'll have them stay up here for 5-10 minutes, answer any individual questions you may have if you want to come on up, especially the good doctor.